1:24 a.m. Two people dressed as Boston police officers walk into the entrance. Over the intercom, just inside, they say that they're responding to a disturbance, and the two guards let them in. Then at 2:45 a.m., the two fake police leave in their vehicle with $500 million worth of art. So how did this happen? March 18th, 1990. The people in Boston were having a party after St. Patrick's Day. Two people got out of a car, most likely a hatchback, and started making their way to the museum. Richard Abbott and Randy Heston were working that shift as night security patrol. One was pretty experienced at that job in night shifts, and the other had no experience whatsoever in the night shift. Because of this, the experienced one took over the area with patrolling. The inexperienced one took care of the security cams by watching them via a monitor. 1:24 a.m. Two people started walking up to the building and were dressed like police officers. For now, we'll label them A and B so it gets really easy to see who it is. The two guys asked the security patrol to let them in response to a disturbance that allegedly occurred within the museum. He let him in. Police B asked if there was anyone else in the building at that time, and the security patrol responded with yes and called him in. Police A said that one of them looked very familiar and stated that they have a warrant for his arrest. So they immediately pinned him down to the wall and handcuffed him, whereas Police B just simply arrested the other. With both handcuffed and duct taped to the wall, Police A said, "Gentlemen, this is a robbery." Within 20 minutes of arrival, it was unknown what they did at that time, but what was confirmed was they had enough time. The security director in charge of the museum at that time stated extreme confidence that no one was coming and a comfort level within the museum. At 1:48 a.m., the two thieves make their way up the staircase to the corridor over the courtyard, labeled the Dutch Room. The point of going to this room and potentially this entire museum heist was mainly for one purpose: to get the works of art by Rembrandt. According to the guide, every other museum in Massachusetts with Rembrandt paintings had been robbed before us. The first painting that was stolen was a seascape by him, and it was the only seascape. Another Rembrandt that was stolen was on another frame right beside this one, and this had a Dutch couple on it. To steal the artwork, they used a pair of box cutters and cut out the canvas from the frame. Some of them still have the wooden supports within the frame, partially destroying the paintings. A mountainous and cloudy landscape also resided next to the wall on the right, and they believed it to be one of Rembrandt's work. However, it wasn't. It was actually made by a student of Rembrandt. The burglars also stole a very rare painting within the museum, The Concert by Vermeer. The artist only made 36 paintings in their entire life. They came across a few more paintings as well as a sculpture. A Chinese bronze vessel was placed on a table, and it was shaped like a beaker, around 10 inches tall. They stole it, but it took a lot of effort to do so. They didn't realize that it was attached to a metal base, and thus tried to somehow break it apart. And eventually they did steal it, however it took them a long time. A small artwork by Rembrandt was also stolen, and this artwork was really small, around the size of a 1" by 1" postage stamp. They deemed that they had so much time that they could just take off the screws from the frame and take the canvas that way. 1:51 a.m. Person B moves on to the next gallery. This one is covered with red walls, but he's very disinterested within this. And in fact, there were many famous artworks within this, some more valuable than the Chinese vessel. However, they didn't take it. But he does walk into the short gallery. In a corridor within that red gallery, 5 paintings were sighted, all from Edgar Degas. There's also another artwork within this room. It had blue, white, and red. It's a flag from the Napoleon Guard. Person B removes some of the screws but then gives up afterwards. And he decides not to break the glass for the flag and instead steals an eagle. From 208 to 226, it's a complete mystery on what happened. All we know is that there was one person in the short gallery and one in the Dutch. The initial 12 art pieces were stolen within the first 9 to 40 minute time span. The last artwork that was stolen was downstairs. Then from 228 to 240, we don't know what happened. None of the detectors registered at this time. And the timestamps for the rest of them, they were detected, and thus we know the certain times that who came and when and where they were. But in this case, that wasn't happening. It was almost like this heist was split up into two different heists, the known and the unknown. The thieves went down to the courtyard and went to the north cloister. The final artwork was placed in a doorway to the blue room, and to the side there's a painting. They took the smaller painting underneath this, and then they checked on the guards to see if they were still there and if anything changed, and started to exit to get to their vehicle. They took 2 trips and the way back, carrying approximately 7 or 5 artworks back and forth. The way they transported these artworks, it's very ambiguous. We don't know. But then afterwards, they left with their 13 artworks into their vehicle and drove off with no trace of their identity left. Overall, this heist took approximately 81 minutes, which is incredibly long for most heists. The lack of security in this museum led to this, and this was due to a financial crisis the museum was having, resulting in lower insurance and to lower their expenses as well. But that's about it. Take care.